Okay, here we go.
Can you make your presence known to us?
Right there.
Oh
Right there.
What it sounds like is a voice saying, touch him. That's really spooky.
One more time? Yeah. It does sound a little bit like it says touch him, which is really creepy considering the question and the call and response for me is, can you make your presence known?
Exactly. So what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Who's telling who to touch me?
Right.
Because we did find strange evidence here, we turned our video over to none other than Steve Gonzalez and Dave Tango, ghost hunters extraordinaire.
Thanks for taking time and looking at our exploits.
First off, there's a video clip here.
I wonder what it is.
You know, if it was an animal, usually it's a lot more solid than that. But there's a slight chance that the animal may have sort of brushed against the tree and moved past it and been on the other side of it now. If it was energy, I think we'd see a little more to it.
Pretty inconclusive for you.
Yes. If you look at this clip here,
that's where
right.
Just the whole thing. Now, do you think that could be just the reflection of the IR, like a bug, really close to the camera?
That to me doesn't look like a bug.
Right.
Now I have seen things like this, and there's no explanation for it. So you may be dealing with something like that here, where energy, for some reason, manipulates the camera there and doesn't know what to do with it. I mean, I think you got something going on there.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is. It is.
All right, well, thanks for the time, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Have a good
Josh.
one, man.
Good
Thank
to
you
see
so
you.
much.
In the end, our recorded EVP evidence and visual encounters certainly seem to indicate that the residents of the village below are having some sort of real experiences here. As to whether or not the city is haunted is harder to say. Something spooked our horses, though. And our collective evidence and long history of eyewitness accounts suggests that while the ruins above San Pedro de Costa may be abandoned by the living, we can't totally rule out that they still may be well populated by the dead. From high-altitude ruins, we turn to a high-flying mystery. A giant bird carrying a small child might sound like that big yellow lug that lives on Sesame Street. But unfortunately, the big bird we're talking about is not singing songs and teaching kids their ABCs. This massive mix of bird and reptile is believed by many Native Americans living in the wilds of Alaska to be a monstrous winged creature that they call the Thunderbird. And while his rumored wrath is centuries old, very recent sightings of this ominous bird are coming out of the village of Manokotak, 300 miles west of Anchorage, where a local pilot and his passengers all reported seeing the creature during a recent flight. Using all available eyewitness accounts, we were able to render the consistent elements into a computerized model of our suspect. Most reports of this massive bird claim it's spotted gliding high in the Alaskan sky, where it circles overhead for several seconds before jetting back into the tree line. Reports also claim the creature, which has been compared to the prehistoric pterosaur, is dark brown in color with an enormous beak, dangerous raking talons, and a wingspan of nearly 30 feet. My team and I were off on a frigid journey to our nation's 49th state. Our expedition began in Los Angeles, where we flew north to the city of Anchorage. One thing about Alaskan design, they really know how to bring the outside in.
One of the things we do need to be really careful of here in Alaska is bears. They're very dangerous and they are everywhere.
While waiting for our connecting flight, I spoke to some locals who were all abuzz about the infamous bird.
Yeah, Debbie's seen it. Terrible claws, gnashing teeth, yellow eyes.
This is great. We're not even in town. People are all hopped up on giant birds. What's the temperature like at night?
It's been like minus 35, but sometimes it's like 20, so.
Somebody get me out of here.
Worried by the weather forecast, but confident that we were on the right track, we boarded our flight and traveled on to Alaska's interior toward Dillingham, a town that cannot be reached by road. We landed in whiteout conditions and made our way to the center of town.
Snow is a-falling, my friend.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
I should move your junk out of the way.
Sorry, buddy.
It's also freezing.
I was curious to talk to the local pilot who reportedly saw our gigantic creature flying right by his plane on a recent flight and hear his unique perspective.
Your name comes up a lot in connection to this Thunderbird story.
Well, there were 7 of us, and, everybody's all excited, all the passengers, This was something they'd never seen before. So it stood out, it was bigger than a regular eagle. There's lots of eagles around here.
How big do you think the wingspan was?
Well, you see the airplane.
About that big?
It's probably 15, 20 foot,
It's huge for a bird.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that you saw a large bird and that it wasn't an eagle?
When the hair stands up on the back of your neck, you know something's up. I saw what I saw. Nobody can take that away.
With no road network outside of Dillingham, in order to do a daytime sweep, we'd need to get a bird's eye view of the entire area. In true Destination Truth style, we chartered a plane that could only be called a classic.
Charlie, what is the age of this plane?
This is a 1961.
61. 61, nice vintage.
We took to the air and glided over the frozen majesty of America's final frontier.
Charlie, I can't help but notice the add fuel sign here. Is that something I should just ignore? Ignore. Perfect, of course.
We scoured the area for miles, and it turned out on this particular day, the only big bird up here was the antique I was flying in. But the flight did reveal one thing, the exact location of the remote native village of Manokotak, nestled against the hills on this frozen tundra. This was where almost all of the sightings of the bird had been reported. The tree line surrounding the isolated village could be an ideal habitat for the elusive bird. I needed to talk with some eyewitnesses to help us target the best investigation site.
I didn't see Thunderbird.
Well, Charlie, that means you're not getting paid for the flight. That was great, Charlie. Thank you so much.
With temperatures now well below zero, we landed back in Dillingham and stopped by a local outpost to gear up for our journey across the ice to the rural village.
What do you see that you like? Anything? Yeah. How's that? How's that look?
That's perfect.
Maybe knock over the bank on the way out of town?
Scary.
This is what I'm talking about. It's something like this. Some big, like John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I like it.
Right?
Yeah, I like
Let's
it.
go with that.
That's it. Josh. Oh, you are such a...
Here we go.
Getting all of us, plus our gear, to Manokotak was going to take some local assistance and a fleet of snowmobiles. Thankfully, one of our guides was Alaska's own Davy Crockett.
That guy has a dead animal on his head. I mean, it's like, it's not even a hat. It's like he killed the animal and then just strapped it to his head. Boy, it's warming up. I don't know if anyone else feels it, but I mean, it's like t-shirt weather in an hour or two, probably.
I couldn't help but notice that one of the locals was packing a little heat.
How often do you go hunting?
On a daily basis.
But you don't think you're going to have to shoot anything from the snowmobile, kind of James Bond style?
No.
Can you? While I'm driving, can you be on the back and shooting at things?
No, it's not safe. It's not safe.
It may not be safe, but
I've
it's
got
awesome.
a pistol on the front of my snow machine. That's
Mounted to the front of your snow machine?
Yes, it's on the handlebars. So.
You have a pistol mounted to the handlebars of your snow machine?
Yes, I do.
This is the greatest state in America.
Yeah, I carry it everywhere. I mean, I don't carry it everywhere, but
I have a pistol mounted to the front of my Prius.
We mapped a course and would need to travel more than 20 miles west across frigid and unforgiving frozen tundra to Manokotak, aka Thunderbird country.
Guy with a dead fox in your head? You ready?
With biting cold and on unfamiliar terrain, driving snowmobiles at high speeds takes razor-sharp focus. And on these icy plains, hidden cracks in the ice can be deadly. We were traveling the backwoods of Alaska on snowmobile to reach the remote village of Manokotak, a high-speed and also a high-risk mode of transportation.
We are in trouble. Oh, I almost got it. It won't start. I need a hand. Yeah, I'm stuck.
Visha, what happened?
What happened, Visha?
Man,
What did you do?
We flipped the snowmobile.
You flipped it?
Yeah. I was worried for a second there, too.
You okay?
Yeah. No.
Go slower this time.
Luckily, the machine was undamaged, and Bisha managed to stay on long enough for us to arrive safely in the village. With a population of only 400 people living in complete isolation, 98% of whom are Native American, we were probably not going to slip into town passing for locals. Luckily, the Yupik natives were beyond hospitable and invited us inside for a bite to eat after our Arctic adventure.
Melt the moose fat to make the